As heavily as the US and Israel have battered Iran, the country's regime is still capable of spreading terror. Drones in their hundreds are being launched at bases across the Middle East as we speak. But an unexpected player has just entered the game. Ukraine is here to end Iran's terror, and it has teamed up with the US and Middle Eastern nations to do it. First Russia, now Iran. Ukraine has unleashed a futuristic weapon that will end the Iranian regime's drone scourge. What is that weapon? Interceptor drones. Ukraine has listened to calls from the US and Middle Eastern countries being affected by Iranian retaliation to Operation Epic Fury, and it has stepped up. Ukrainian interceptor drones are being sent to the Gulf region, and they're being used to stop the Shaheds that Iran is launching at its many enemies. Who's getting these drones? American bases in the Middle East, in Jordan. And maybe we will send also to Saudi Arabia, Zelensky has declared when discussing Ukraine's new agreement with the US. This is huge for Ukraine, and it could have a massive impact on the country as it continues its fight against Putin's brutal invasion of its territory. Explain why later in the video, as we first need to cover why Ukraine is sending these drones and how much of an impact they will have on Operation Epic Fury. Why is a simple question to answer. The US asked. During the opening hours of Operation Epic Fury, 6 US military personnel were killed. The weapon that killed them was likely a Shahed-type drone, Euronews reports, and the incident raised immediate alarm bells in US command. These cheap drones don't compare to what the US brings to the table in terms of modernity or strength. But that's the problem. Shaheds are cheap, can be launched in huge numbers, and it only takes 1 or 2 breaking through air defenses to cause a lot of damage. Every Shahed swarm that is launched forces the US to expend its far more expensive interceptor missiles to stop them. And the approach doesn't always work. Zelensky himself has pointed that out, noting that the US burned through 800 of its Patriot missiles in the first 3 days of Operation Epic Fury, which is a cost that the US simply can't and shouldn't absorb if it's going to be in an extended fight with Iran. So, the request came through, as Zelensky explains. We received a request from the United States for specific support and protection against Shaheds in the Middle East region, Ukraine's president announced on March 5th in a post published on X. The country knows all too well that expertise has to accompany the weapon, or it won't be as effective as the US, and its allies need it to be. Along with the drones, Ukraine is sending experts to the Middle East to teach the US and its partners how to get the most out of their new interceptors. Again, Zelensky took to X to explain, stating on March 17th, right now, there are 201 Ukrainians in the Middle East and the Gulf region, and another 34 are ready to deploy. Those experts are already in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, Zelensky adds. And there are deals being formulated with other countries. In addition to the drone deal, Zelensky says that Ukraine has with the US. Ukraine's expertise is in high demand right now. Anybody who has been paying attention to the Ukraine war will be able to tell you why. The drones that Iran is launching at US bases are the very same types of Shahed drones that it has been supplying to Russia almost since the beginning of the Ukraine war. Iran started delivering these drones shortly after Putin launched his invasion, Le Monde points out, and it wasn't long before the country signed a lucrative licensing deal with Putin that allowed Russia to build Shahed-type drones on its own territory, with support from the Iranian regime. This is important in the context of what's happening in the Middle East right now because it means that Ukraine has been dealing with Shahed drones for 4 years. It knows those drones inside and out, which means it understands the tactics used when drone swarms are unleashed, and it has developed tactics, along with weapons, to minimize the damage that these swarms can cause. That's the expertise that the US and its Middle Eastern allies want. They're trying to come to grips with the type of fighting that Ukraine has both innovated and defended itself against for years. And Ukraine is in the perfect position to provide the knowledge they need to accelerate their ability to stop Iran's Shahed drones in their tracks. Of course, knowledge is all well and good. But Ukraine has to deliver the weapons to back that knowledge up. And it has the perfect solution in its cheap interceptor drones. Ukraine has already developed several models of interceptors, which have proven themselves very effective against Shaheds, as we'll reveal in a moment. But chief among these interceptor drones, and the most likely to make its way into the Middle East, is the Sting. Described by the new voice of Ukraine as an FPV interceptor, Sting already boasts a hit rate of between 80% and 90%. When unleashed against Russia's Shahed-type drones, Ukraine started using this drone in 2025, and its specs reveal why it is a good counter to Iran's Shaheds. A Sting can fly at speeds up to 315 kilometers, or 195.7 miles per hour, meaning it's fast enough to adjust its position in mid-flight to intercept Shaheeds that are pre-programmed to hit specific targets. And it transforms what could have been a winning strategy for Iran into an attritional nightmare, the likes of which it was trying to inflict on the US. The only hope that Iran has is that Ukraine's interceptor drones aren't as effective as the US needs them to be. But that hope has already been dashed, and we'll explain why in a moment. Before we do, this is a quick reminder that you're watching The Military Show. If this is the kind of insight that you crave, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We break it down like this every single week. On the control front, Iran can't do much about Sting or other interceptor drones. Sting is piloted using VR goggles that allow an operator to identify and track targets in real time. The interceptor also has an AI-based guidance system, which allows it to stick with an incoming Shahed, which it destroys via impact, and a remote detonation mechanism that allows it to unleash its tiny warhead at the perfect time. And this isn't a theoretical technology that Ukraine is providing to the US. It has been proven in battle, and the hit rate of between 80% and 90% that we mentioned earlier shows why. According to United 24 Media, Ukraine's interceptor drones now account for 30% of all of the country's air defense kills, as of February 24th. That number is only going to grow higher as Ukraine builds more of these types of low-cost drones.